Hello and welcome. It's so nice to be back in the Facebook group here. Welcome to the Leaders Who Love What They Do podcast. And I'm your host, Anne Collins, and I'm really delighted to be back here to introduce to you a very, very special series of episodes for the next week. So if you're watching live, do say hello, do leave a message in the comments, and so tell me that you're there. And if you're listening on the podcast, do subscribe so that you get the following episodes. There are going to be five episodes and another bonus episode as well. So do subscribe and then you'll be sure to get the updates. So this is a very special edition for the summer, and we're taking a break from the interviews that we've been doing, and we'll be restarting those, don't worry, in September. But we're taking a little break because I really wanted to do a special series of episodes on the inner voice, or that little voice in your head, because it's something that I talk to my clients a lot about, and I realise it's something that's very interesting for them. There's a lot of new research that's being done at the moment. So what I've done is I've collated some of that, but also tried to then make it really practical, so that I hope that it can be interesting for you. So we're going to be talking about the inner voice and how we can really see it as a gift. Often we talk about it as a very critical voice, and it can be, but also we can also use it in a very positive way. So how can we harness that and really see it as a gift, and how can we use it to unlock our potential? Now that's a big claim, but I really do believe that there is a lot that we can do. So, do you ever find yourself talking to yourself? Maybe in the car, or as you're going about your daily business, or just in front of the mirror in the morning. And do you notice what you say? Do you encourage yourself? Or go on, are you giving yourself a pep talk? Are you berating yourself? Oh, how could you have done that? How could you possibly have thought that was a good idea? Or are you thinking through a task? Maybe when you're in the kitchen and you're cooking, are you thinking through the task and speaking out loud to yourself, or in your head? Or do you actually have conversations with yourself where you debate an idea? Or do you have no awareness at all of that inner voice? Maybe you don't hear an inner voice, and that's also very possible. So for people, there's a huge range of what people experience with their inner voice. Some people experience it more as a feeling, more as a form that they can see rather than actual words. So it can be very, very varied. Now, in this series of podcast episodes on the inner voice and self-talk, I'm going to be summarising some of the research that has been done. And obviously, the research into self-talk is very complicated to do, because when you ask people, you're relying on their memories for a start. It's self-reported. We can't see it. We can't hear it. So it's really very challenging to research. But the science around it is developing fast, which is really fascinating, and it's powerful. So why? Well, stay tuned to find out, and I'm hoping that you will be excited by this by the end of these five or six episodes. So I'm going to be summarising some of the research, and there's a fantastic new book out which I'm going to be talking about later, and I'm going to also explain how my clients have used their inner voice to really help them take steps forward, and how they've used their inner voice very intentionally, and how we can really tap into that in lots of different ways. In fact, there are many different strategies for doing this, and some will work for you, others will not, and it's a case of experimenting and trying and practicing. Like anything, it's a lot about being aware and developing that awareness. So just to give you a quick introduction to me, if you're joining me for the first time. So I'm Anne Collins. I'm an executive and leadership coach, and I work with senior leaders and teams in organisations to really transform the way that they connect with each other, the way they think, and therefore the culture that they create and that they want to create. With individual clients, I'm really helping people to reconnect with their purpose and to help them create create a plan for their careers and their lives on the long term, not just in the short term, and help them really to start living their legacy right now. So people in midlife find that often very helpful. So I'm particularly interested in how leaders can use their inner voice to become the leaders that they really want to be. And this is really interesting, because I think that if we can really tap into that inner voice, we can ensure that it's first of all serving us, because often it doesn't serve us. Often it can be very, very critical. And it can also really empower us to be what we need to be in order to serve others and to lead. And I think it also gives us clarity, because when we become very self-aware of that inner voice and we're able to train it, we're able to see it for what it is, we're able to turn up the volume or turn down the volume or even change the record. We're going to be talking about that. It's very, very powerful. We don't need, in fact, very much else. Because the way we talk to ourselves is fundamental, as I'm sure you already know. I'm seeing that a very interesting shift in all of this. I'm seeing that many leaders now and HR professionals who are seeing the benefits of this, and they're becoming very interested in it, because it is something that's so powerful. Because if we can change the way we think, we change what we do. And often if we just change what we do, but we don't change what we're thinking, either about ourselves or about the situation, we become limited. We become blocked at a certain level. We can go through the hoops, but can we really become who we need to be in order to get to that next level, to put into practice what we really want to do, to become the leaders that we want to be and that we need to be? And I think this comes back to a very simple idea that language is so powerful. And of course, this can be very positive when it's used in self-talk. We can use our imagination to explore amazing possibilities, and we can debate with ourselves to find creative solutions, and that's amazing. But it can also be negative. A highly critical and relentless negative inner voice can be really very debilitating, and often experienced by those who are suffering from anxiety or depression and other mental health conditions. And therapy and other interventions may well be required. So being aware, being able to intentionally harness that voice can be helpful for many, but I will add a little caveat here. If you are concerned about your own mental health, then please do seek medical help. If you have an inner voice that really is relentless, highly critical, and is really debilitating, then please do get some help and reach out to a medical professional who can start to help you. So wherever you're listening to the podcast, I invite you to give yourself the next 15 minutes or so and to be fully present. So I suggest closing the tabs on your email, maybe turning off the notifications on your phone, and just really giving yourself time to be truly present. Whatever you can do to turn down the noise, as it were. So I'd like you first of all to think about the following question. So who has been the biggest influence on you in your life so far? So maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a teacher, maybe a colleague, or maybe a book that you've read, someone that you follow online. Who is it? Who is it? So for me, many people have had a big influence on me, but probably the person who's had a huge influence is actually my granny. Now, she arrived in England at the age of 12 from rural Kerry, and she came from a tiny island called Valentia Island on the southwest coast, and she arrived in England and she went to school with her sisters there. And you imagine in those days you didn't get your Ryanair flight. You had to take well, first of all, a small boat across the water to the mainland, and then take a train, and then take a boat, and then another train. You can imagine at any age it's quite an adventure, but at the age of 12 it must have been a huge adventure. And then arriving in England at that time, so this was pre-Second World War, as an Irish immigrant, it wasn't always easy. And she had amazing big dreams. So she came from a place where the most of the future for many women would be to be on a farm, to have a farmer's wife's life, and to work extremely hard in the outdoors. Really a tough life. It's a great place and a beautiful place to live. But I think people would agree it's not an easy one, and especially at that time there was obviously no electricity. Life was pretty tough. So when she arrived in England, I remember her telling me that she had big dreams. She wanted to have fun. She wanted to really enjoy fashion, and she wanted to be a teacher. And she worked really hard to do all of that. So she had great determination, great vision of what she wanted to do. She didn't want to do what was maybe expected of her not from her immediate family, but possibly from society more broadly. She really had other plans, and I would say wasn't just plans, because she had determination, a real resilience, and a steely determination really to move forward with her plans, and she did exactly that. She absolutely loved fashion. She went into teaching and taught many people how to design and how to make clothes that they wanted, and she always made her own as well. And she used to say to me, Anne, you make sure that you do what you want. And I still hear her voice when she says that. I hear her saying many other things, but that in particular has really stayed with me, because her voice has become part of my inner voice, my self-talk. And I'm sure you can think of examples, probably many examples, both positive and possibly negative as well. However, as well as the influence of those around us, who really has the biggest influence on us, on you and on me? Well, actually, it's you and it's me. Because who is the person you are listening to 24 hours a day? Even if those are voices coming from other people in the past, you have integrated those. You can also choose to ignore them, and we'll talk about that another time. But who is the person who's talking to you all the time? So it's us. We're listening to ourselves. It's our voice inside our head. So this is really interesting, because this gives us many possibilities. There's a psychologist called Ethan Kross, and he has written a great book recently called Chatter, and he says that inner experiences constantly dwarf outer ones. So what we're thinking and what we're saying to ourselves is absolutely key. Now, he defines the inner experiences as one aspect, as that inner voice, that little voice that often gives us a lot of judgments, essentially, but not always. But that little inner voice is the voice that is dictating to us, in a sense, is with us all the time. So if our inner experiences are so important, isn't it worth learning more about them? And what a gift it can be, what a gift it is, but we need to use it. So let's think about this for a minute. If we imagine that this is really true, what could it change? If we really take this on board, that inner voice is so important, that we are the biggest influence on ourselves, what could that change? What could it really change for you? So I think there are three basic things. I think if we decide that what we're listening to is so important, we can also understand that we can change that. We can decide what it is that we're listening to. It's our decision. So we are in complete control of that. We can open the doors. We can close the doors. That is for us to decide. So if we can control and train and harness our inner voice, in theory, the possibilities are indeed limitless. So we can explore those, and we can really open the door, and we can see so far beyond. We don't need anything else. We've got all we need. We have those resources. And the best news is, I think, is that exactly that. We don't need anything else. We don't need anything complicated. All we need is just ourselves, our thoughts, and then a willingness to do the work. And what work is required? Well, in the next 4 episodes, I'm going to be talking about how we can really listen and train our inner voice, and using a range of strategies. We're going to be looking at how we can control that volume, turning it up, turning it down, and how we can change the record. How can we change what it is that we're actually hearing? Now, it doesn't happen immediately. This is not a magic. It's not a magic button, and most of it is about self-awareness, and it takes time. But there are some little techniques that we can do quite quickly and quite easily to give ourselves the space and to give ourselves distance, so that we can see it more clearly and make the changes. And then we're going to be looking at the link between what we're thinking and what we're doing, because that's absolutely fundamental. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth doing it, would it? Because we need to understand that link between what we're thinking, what we're believing, and then what we're actually doing. And then how can we see that inner voice as a power and even a gift that we can use, not only in our personal lives, but also in our professional lives? Because then we can not only do great things, but we can also become the person that we need to be and that we want to be. Because we need to talk to ourselves in a way that's going to help us to move forward. So because whatever your inner voice is saying, what you hear and what you say to yourself, if you're saying to yourself, I can do this, or Anne, you can do this, this is really going to be helpful if you want to make a change, if you want to develop something, if you want to step out of your comfort zone to do something slightly different. That inner voice is, for many people, is absolutely key. So I really think it's time to harness it and to think beyond the usual things of pushing ourselves, because this is not about pushing. This actually is about being very gentle with ourselves and being kind to ourselves, but at the same time being challenging as well, saying, well, of course, you want to do this, so this is what you need to do. Let's do it. So it's not an easy option, but it's not a punishment in any way. It's not. We don't want to reinforce any type of critical inner voice. We want to use a positive inner voice that is encouraging, that is helping us to take those steps that actually we want to take. So that's all for today. So just before you go, I'm excited to share with you that we also have another 5-day workshop. Some of you may have been on that one, the last one, and it's coming up at the end of August, called Life, Leadership and Purpose. So if you would like to get really clear on what it is that is important to you, to really reconnect with your purpose and to start living your legacy right now, then this is the 5-day workshop for you. The people who did it last time really enjoyed it. We had great feedback, so don't miss out. It's coming up at the end of August. The place to sign up it's already there, ready for you to click on. So all you need to do is go to our website, bluebottlecoaching.com, and go to events and click on there, and you can reserve your space for that. Okay, I can't wait to see you for that. But also, I hope that you will join me for the next few episodes. If you're in the Facebook group and you're listening here, it will be over the next few days. If you're listening on the podcast, they're going to be released every week for the next 5 or 6 weeks. So, thanks so much for joining me this morning in the Facebook group if you're there, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Have a lovely day. It's extremely sunny here. We're off to the pool right now. So yes, I'll be enjoying that here, and I hope that you are enjoying the summer wherever you are. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye bye.